Welcome. I'm Joanna Valsamis, Director of Knowledge Mobilization at Canada's Stem Cell Network, and I will be your host for Stem Cells from the Sofa, a groundbreaking video series that invites you to the exciting world of stem cells and regenerative medicine. In this unique series, I sit down with some of the brightest minds in the field for candid and enlightening discussions. Today we're joined by Priye Iworima. Priye is a cell culture and bioprocess development specialist. Her work focuses on developing scalable differentiation protocols to make stem cell-derived products for diabetes. Priye, thanks for joining us. Let's dive into the topic of stem cells with some basic questions. What are stem cells, and how are they different from other cells in our body?
So that's a great question, and I want to start by answering what are these other cell types found in our body. So we have reproductive cells and we have non-reproductive cells. These non-reproductive cells we refer to as somatic cells. They have specialized functions that they have to do. Now, in contrast, stem cells we can think of as a clean slate. They can become any of the cell types that are found in the body, and we've got over 200 cell types that are found in the body. Another unique characteristic of stem cells is that they can self-renew. And what this means is that they can make identical copies of themselves, and that has unique implications for replacement cell therapy.
Excellent, thank you. Let's go a little bit deeper. So can you explain the various types of stem cells and how they're used in both research and in the development of stem cell therapies?
Yeah, of course. So when we think about distinguishing different stem cells, we can think of what their origin is, we can think of where they're located, and we can think about their pluripotency. And all this means is how many options of cell types can they actually turn into? There are three types that I would like to discuss. The first is embryonic stem cells. These can turn into any of the over 200 cell types that are found in the body. That means we could, in theory, replace any of those damaged cell types. We have something else called induced pluripotent stem cells. Now, these start up first as those non-stem cell types. So we could call them adult cells, like your brain cells, hair cells, skin cells. We take them and put them through a process called reprogramming. And that, in essence, reverts them back to being stem cell-like. Once we've done this, we can now make them any of the cell types that are found in the body. Similar implications as with our embryonic stem cells, but now with these induced pluripotent stem cells, we can look into personalized medicine, where we can take, for example, the skin cell from an individual, make it into this iPSC, and then turn it into a cell type that is damaged for that individual and give it back to the individual, with the goal that we may not need to put them on chronic immunosuppressive drugs. So that's very cool. And then the last stem cell type that I want to discuss are called adult stem cells. Now, the difference between adult stem cells and the two that I've previously talked about is that they have a more limited amount of options that they can turn into. So we could have things like blood stem cells, and they can turn into different blood cell types. They can't turn into brain cell types. And these are the different types of stem cells that we have.
Amazing. So it sounds like stem cells really have the potential to revolutionize healthcare. Could you tell us a few different disease areas and conditions that could benefit from stem cell treatments? And then also tell us a little bit about your research in diabetes.
Yeah, of course. So we've got, again, neurodegenerative diseases where, for example, in Parkinson's, there are dopaminergic neurons that are defective. So we could take stem cells, turn them into this particular cell type, and give them back to the patient to replace the damaged cell types. Another disease that we could look into are the different blood cancers, where we can use blood stem cell products and also give it to the patient. Now, for my work, I do diabetes research, and I'm trying to turn stem cells into insulin-producing beta cells. These are the cells that are damaged in type 1 diabetes. And I like to think of myself like a chef, where I have the ingredients of what I need. So I've got stem cells, and I've got other little goodies, because these cells are alive and they need to eat. So we need to give them all of these ingredients and force them to become the specific cell type that we want. It's not so easy. And then the second thing we're trying to do is manufacture them at a large enough scale so that we can help the millions of people that are living with type 1 diabetes. And so we need to figure out not just the recipe for what we need to put in this pot, we need to figure out how big this pot can be and what type of pot we're going to use to actually make these cells. And so that's the sort of work that I'm doing in the lab, is making cells and trying to make them at a large enough scale.
That's very fascinating. Thank you for that. So we know that innovations are around the corner. For the sake of speculation, where do you think we'll be in, say, five years from now with stem cell therapies?
Yeah, I think it's a really fascinating and interesting time for regenerative medicine, because a lot of work has gone into trying to understand stem cells and how we can turn them into the different cell types for different diseases. That's just one piece of the puzzle. When we make these cells, we need to figure out where we're going to put them in the patient. So there's a lot of work trying to figure out the right site. Are we going to put them under the skin? Are we going to put them just as the cells, or put them in some sort of pouch so that if anything needs to be taken out, it's very easy to take out the pouch? Another interesting thing that people are doing is trying to cloak these cells so that they're invisible and we don't need the pouch, and we can just put the cells in the patient. Your immune system is not going to see it, but if there's a problem, we can provide a drug, and that makes them visible again. So I think we're going to see that a lot of different pieces of this puzzle that would allow us bring a product to patients that are living with different diseases will be flushed out a little bit more, and that's really exciting. But ultimately, I think everyone's goal is to make sure that we have something that is safe for the individual. That is priority number one.
Thank you for joining us today, Priye, and we'll certainly be following along with the outcomes of your research.
Thank you, and it was a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you for joining us today on Stem Cells from the Sofa, and please stay tuned for further videos on topics such as access and affordability and clinical trials.